Hello, ladies and gentlemen, everyone tuning in at home, and welcome back to the second Proving Ground Circuit Qualifier. I'm Matt Cubby Samuelson. Joining me is Sam Smacks Hyde and our wonderful guest for the series to start off the day, Illy Sweetheart. Illy, great to have you. I see that you've been joined with a friend, a bonus friend as well for the broadcast.
Yes, my new puppy, Sylvie.
Oh, wow. All right. Usually we save the pet predictions for when our pets come in, but I do like the fact that we're starting off with a pet now. Good start, Illy. I appreciate that. And ladies and gentlemen, we are on to the playoff stage. We have 8 teams left. Everyone is posturing for seeding, trying to make that top 6 to get straight into the Proving Grounds bracket instead of playing in the play-in portion of the Proving Grounds tournament. No one wants that do-or-die best-of-3 against an academy squad. And Smacks, we saw a lot of games yesterday go the distance, get pretty close as everyone was posturing for the standings.
It was a lot of games yesterday. We had a late night. Both of them on this stream went to 6. It's a lot of casting. As you can see right here, how the first 2 groups played out. Boggs versus Winthrop and Ginger versus EG was what we saw yesterday. Both of those went the distance, and Winthrop ended up taking revenge against Boggs. EG not quite so lucky. Ginger repeating history there. And both of those teams are going to be playing in the playoffs today for quarters.
And very important when it comes to seeding as well. That was groups A and B. I also know that we have groups C and D. And Ilya, I know that you said you were familiar with some of the players coming in. I know that Maryville, a program that you're familiar with. Did you by chance catch any of the Maryville action yesterday as they got one of their teams through?
I did not catch the action yesterday, but I do enjoy watching the Odd Orange play. So I'll catch his games sometimes.
Okay. That's what I like to hear. Well, we're going to have some good Odd Orange action for the first series that we have today. But before we dive into that, we do have to update everyone at home about where our points stand. As, of course, as I teased earlier, everyone is posturing for that top 6 where you get straight into the bracket. You dodge out on that do-or-die best-of-3. If you get into the bracket, it's a double limb for the rest of it. And right now, Evil Genius's Prodigies, they have that 6th spot locked in at 85 points, but if you win today, you get 20. So we could see Ginger Turmeric try and make it into the top 10. They're going to be playing today. Maryville also is trying to make it towards that top 7, and Wildcard Aces, if they win, that could be really important for seeding as well.
And you can see on those contending teams there just how close a race it was. Unfortunately for Supernova, Bay State, and the other teams that we've seen throughout these tournaments, they are all eliminated. However, there is one team that is still in that conversation that's not currently top 10 that could still make it. That's Ginger Turmeric. Just on the cusp. If they win today, later in the next series after this one, then they could still make it into PG top 10. It's a lot riding on that.
And we're going to have to see if Ginger Turmeric pulls out some of the spice, maybe some of the cumin out of the kitchen, as they might need it against no team. But looking at the bracket, of course, on today's stream, we are going to have 100 Thieves next versus Maryville University first, followed by No Team versus Ginger Turmeric. On the other stream, twitch.tv/Unified Live, we have Immortals AoE versus Winthrop, and then Taco Gaming versus Wildcard Aces. And Illy, I know that you got your hands full with the dog, but I do kind of want to ask, out of all these quarterfinal matchups, is there anyone that you're really excited about, really excited to see?
The one we're about to see.
Okay, that's what I like. That's all the hype we need going into today's series. As the matchups for today, we can fly that bracket. We're kicking things off with 100 Thieves next versus Maryville, and then Immortals AoE versus Winthrop. But I will say, before we dive into kind of today's matchup for 100 Thieves next versus Maryville, this is a matchup where if you are a fan of Amateur, this has some history. This has some precedent to it. And Spax, I know that I've got a clip ready. We're going to be flying for everyone. This is a very important match for Maryville as they try to make that top 6, try and solidify their spot with Ginger Turmeric as well. They need to win to control their own destiny to make it today. And this reminds me of another matchup between 100 Next, where 100 Next and Maryville were playing for their own destiny going back to 2020 Scouting Grounds. This is from the third place game where the winner qualified for Scouting Grounds as a team back in 2020. This was one of the premier matchups that we had. You can see some familiar faces. Niall, Shady, both on this Maryville squad. We saw so many good matchups between Hunter Next and Maryville back then, and we're really hoping for another one today.
I can't believe how hard it would have been for you to actually get this clip. This was such a long time ago at this point.
Not hard. This is in the clip's history, baby.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
You're
It's a matchup. Yeah, I mean, this is really the first LCS org that heavily invested in amateur. That first class 100 next. You could already see, like, Tenacity, Kenvi, and also Copy missing from that. I know that Copy that game had a family emergency. Tenacity and Kenvi had already been promoted. They had Max Waldo sub in for Tournament Realm. They were flexing between him and Fallen Bandit, who was the coach. And Maryville was bested by 100 Thieves next. Now, coming into today, it is a new year. We have some familiar faces yet again. And I'm going to put the spot on Illy, as I know that you were a fan of some of the members of Maryville, familiar with some of these players. They come into today as the underdogs, but do you think this roster of Maryville University has a chance to take down this version of Hunter next?
I definitely think they can take a game off. I mean, they are the underdog, and I'm always rooting for the underdog. But I think I still think 100 next has the upper hand. So.
It's tough. And one of the reasons that we think Hunter next has the upper hand, 26-1 through all of the matches they have played in amateur so far. That includes 3-0ing Golden Guardians Academy in our last finals, Smacks. This team, we cannot say it enough, they have been on an absolute tear.
It's good to mention also that 100 Thieves beating Golden Guardians. Golden Guardians is currently in first place in Academy. Is that correct?
They are in second.
Oh, okay. They were first briefly, but they're at the top of the table. It's not just like a 10th place Academy team that they beat. They beat one of the better ones 3-0. So these guys definitely have a lot of momentum, a lot of experience, and with their new support as well, Sword, they've still kept that undefeated streak going. 4-0 on game score so far. Not to mention Sword's really sick performances in Academy. Really excited to see him again, and this time in that playoff setting.
Yeah, I will say, when they did 3-0 Golden Guardians, they were 4-4 in the standings. Since then, I believe they're 15 or 14-4, 15-5. It's one or the other. So Golden Guardians really did take that loss and improved as a team, ran with it. And that could be a teaser of a matchup we're looking forward to in Proving Grounds, because 100 Thieves, they are sitting at that #1 seed, but they still need a win today, Smacks, to make sure they control their own destiny and can knock in that top seed from amateur.
So Maryville could definitely take that one away from them. A couple of other things, considering Immortals AoE would have to take over that spot for them. But for Maryville, there's a little bit more riding on them to keep going, because they are right now sitting in the realm of the bottom 4 there, 7 through 10, which would mean they have to play into the play-ins of Proving Grounds. As you can see in these points right now, Maryville just on the cusp. So not only do they keep winning in this tournament to maybe go higher than that and maybe break into that top 6, they are also worrying about Ginger Turmeric on their tail. So if Maryville lose and Ginger win today, it's a pretty big problem for the collegiate squad.
Yeah, now, one way, Illy, you already teased it, the potential that Maryville can maybe take some games. I know that one of the big featured matchups, I know you're excited about Odd Orange, but one that we're really looking
Insanity.
Yeah. And Insanity. All right, I like that. We're excited about some of the players that we have here. I want to give you the opportunity, though, to talk about our featured matchup. We have General Sniper going up against Niles. These two have been so important for their team. What are you expecting from these two top laners going into this game?
I think Sniper has been performing really, really well recently. So I think that's one of the major reasons that 100 Thieves has the upper hand. Because I think both teams play towards their top side more often, and they generally play weak side bot. And since Sniper does have the upper hand, that, it strongly favors 100 next.
Yeah,
I think that's a really good. I don't know what else to add on that. That's a pretty good read. Both these teams walk in top, and Sniper. I mean, his Jace. I know we're showing the Riven. His Jace has been a terror in amateurs, Max.
Yeah, he's been played to a lot more in this tournament compared to the last one too. Like, Illy, you're definitely right. The strong side top play style has really been broken into by 100 Thieves Next in this go about, and that's something that Niles is really going to have to consider in this game. Like, do you have more resources sent to top to match this, or will he have to adjust and play a bit more weak side, perhaps on that Gangplank that we just saw?
I do think that Maryville's always been pretty good at coming up with good strategies, especially at the beginning, early game strategies. And if they can pull ahead really early, I feel like that's how they're going to take a game off of them.
Yeah, I think Maryville's ability to play with priority, make those early plays in the jungle, and we've seen them attack amateur teams at, three-wave plans, trying to set up dives. That's something that not a lot of the teams in amateur have the confidence to pull off. Maryville do, and it's something that they're going to need if they want to try and topple our top dogs, who, once again, 26-1 in amateur. That is a filthy score. We have never seen a team that has been this dominant in the amateur ecosystem, even going back to that original iteration of 100 Thieves Next that were extremely dominant with Tenacity and Kenvy. So they are putting that on the line. They need the win to control their destiny. Now, I do want to start to get into the series a little bit more, throw out some of the clips and the gameplay. Smacks, I know one of the ways that 100 Thieves Next has been so dominant, it's been through their team fighting.
The team fighting is just so good on this squad, and it's because they are definitely keeping that aspect of their gameplay in mind through and through. Insanity has been playing a lot of control mages and Corki, which is pretty similar to that. Array, of course, on the very meta marksman that scale up like this Jinx that we can see in this clip, and also that Aphelios that we've seen a lot. Fnatic playing these early game facilitators that end up being front lines, like the Volibear, the Xin Zhao, and that sort of thing. And they really take that aspect of their game plan and have shown to be just way better than most people in this entire tournament by that record alone, but also from the eye test. Like, everybody is performing so well. You're gonna see it later as well. I'm very consistently impressed by these guys.
Yeah, and Illy, I like how, I was asking you about some of the players you were excited about. Had to sneak in Insanity on the Hunter Next squad. What is something about Insanity that gets you excited about him and his play?
Well, I've just seen him grow. I've known about him for years, and it's same with Auto Orange. I've just seen them grow as a player. So I've always more invested in players that you've basically watched grow up.
Yeah, and I think that's something also on that topic that's been huge for Insanity. Obviously, going from playing LCS for Immortals to playing on this amateur squad, some people could say that and be like, you know what, that's a downgrade, or like that's not great for Insanity. But I think that Insanity has really stepped up to the table. I mean, he is still competing in amateur at some of the highest levels, Smacks. And I think that in some ways he has upped his gameplay, and is also something that Hunter Next has been really vocal about. Insanity's been upping the gameplay of everyone else on that roster as well.
It takes a really skilled and really versatile player to come into a roster with new players and rookies that are really promising and still stand out a lot as a player in your own right, while also spreading that around to the rest of the team. And you can very clearly see that in the way that he's playing and the way that he's talking about the game as well. I know Insanity's been in the Twitch chat watching everything as well. He's very invested in the amateur space. And there, like you're saying, Cubby, there are a lot of players that would potentially have come from LCS to this that wouldn't do that as much, but Insanity really is going the extra mile to show that he's not quite done. Just because he's not in that LCS again doesn't mean he can't get right back, and he is still going to put 110% into the team that he's on right now. Really proud of him for that.
Yeah, a lot of players that didn't make academy teams ended up taking the split off. Insanity, not the case. He's competing at the highest level and on the top team that we have in amateur going into this match. Now, we talked about Hunter Next a lot. I think it's time that we give a little bit of love over to Maryville coming into this series. And I think that's something that really impressed me from their series yesterday, Smacks, particularly. I thought that Azog had the best series that we've seen out of him so far in this tournament.
Yeah, for sure. He is playing Zeri instead of that Xayah, so I think that definitely has something to do with it. So we're going to be seeing a team fight of his. But yeah, it's been a while since we've been able to see every single member of Maryville really popping off. As Illy was saying, Azog typically does play this weak side style, but from this clip alone, you can see that's not the case right now. He is going in, he's flashing, making all of these plays himself. And I think that's a really cool, versatile way to attack this next series, too. Because, like I said, they are likely going to have to play up against a lot of resources. Top lane and Niles could take the L a bit and not have any of those play weak side. Give those resources over to Azog. He just performed so well yesterday.
Big part of the reason that Maryville's here. Now, Illy, I know that's something that you set up earlier. Odd Orange and Maryville with these early plans. Are there any particular picks that you might be looking out for in the jungle from Odd Orange? Or is there any way that you feel like Maryville maybe can attack 100 Thieves next in that way?
Oh, I haven't kept up with the very, very recent meta as much. I used to be an avid watcher.
Mm-hmm.
I know he used to be, I mean, he's an amazing Lee Sin player. So anything with that similar play style where he can just set up these early snowballs and or any strategies they can come up with, I guess, yeah, some early game picks, probably maybe they can even do it through the mid lane. That would be hard with Insanity. So I guess, I really don't know on this one, to be honest.
It is kind of the bind that Maryville finds himself in, and the difficulties going up against a team who, once again, we cannot repeat this enough, 26-1 so far in Amateur. It's a nightmare to game plan against, Max.
The Lee Sin is a really good highlight, though, because he has been pulling that out a lot in this tournament, and it has been looking just like classic old Odd Orange as well. Good as ever on that one, maybe even better. And to touch on mid lane, too, he does have the newest member to Maryville on that position, APA, who has been doing super, super well in his own right, too, specifically on Syndra, which they have been prioritizing very heavily, picking very early in these drafts. But yesterday he also piloted the Nico in both of their games, so he's really been showing this cool champion pool to play to that play style, the 2v2 mid jungle. And he's gonna have to do that against some former teammates as well today, Cubby. We got Fnatic and Array on 100 Thieves.
APA and unique champion pools. Who would have thought we'd be talking about that? Also, the clip that we ran earlier, where it was Hunter Next versus Maryville, I think it's also worth noting that in order to make it towards that match, Maryville had to beat Supernova, who at the time was also fielding Odd Orange and APA. So that is how much history that these players have in Amateur going into this matchup. Now, before we have more history written before us, we have to see what our casters might think about what's going to happen next, as we got some predictions across the board. Deserex reigning supreme so far for the play-by-plays, and it looks like he's got 100 next along with the rest of our casters across the board, as this is something that frankly is not very surprising for us, just given how dominant 100 next has been.
I think I'm at 13 right now, so I'm not doing too well. But we didn't want to spoil my predictions, so I'm about to talk about them on this desk.
A good chance for you to pick up some ground here, and maybe a good chance for Illy to prove that she is the superior brain as the guest. As I am going to start with our lovely guest, Illy. Predictions for this match coming in, 100 next versus Maryville. Who do you have?
So I predicted 2-1. Maryville takes one game off of 100 next. Just because I do have faith in them. I do have faith that they can pull off an early game strat that gets them ahead or something along those lines. I do believe in them. So that is my predictions. But I do think, like you guys were saying, 100 next is just a beast of a team. They have so much agency in the game. Insanity can easily take over the game, especially with bot or supports roaming and top having prio, and it's going to be tough for them, but I believe they can do it.
Okay, 2-100 next. Illy, Smacks, what do you have?
Well, Illy is believing in Maryville just a bit more than I am today. I'm going to go with 2-0 for 100 Thieves next. They have been doing just so well this entire year. I will say Maryville looked great yesterday, and this is a pretty good chance for me to fuel their rage at me. They can direct it at me if they want to. If Maryville's gonna win today, that would be pretty amazing. I don't think that's gonna happen though. I think 100 Thieves next are just too good.
I am blind as well. I've got 100 next 2-0. I think they're too good. Now, I think it is worth noting the one game that 100 next did drop. It was to Team Ambition that were led by some collegiate players. So maybe going up against a collegiate squad that could be the case. But before we get into the games, thank you to our analysts for giving us their big brain takes. I do want to see you guys get involved in the conversation. You can tweet at us with the hashtag #WeAreUnified, and your tweet can show up on twitch.tv/academy. So if you want the chance to have that happen, or want some of your big brain thoughts to make it to our broadcast, make sure to use Twitter, use the hashtag #WeAreUnified, and we can hear what's up next. Now, with that said, I think it's time that we throw it over to our wonderful casters to get in this game and see what the next chapter written in the history books is for 100 Thieves Next versus Maryville University.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to our devs for getting us prepped for this amazing series that's coming our way. My name is Travis D. I am joined here with my ever so lovable co-caster, Rebel. Rebel, we got a fun one here, and I'm so happy that you're here for another Maryville game, man. As we get everything figured out here and get all this stuff sorted, unfortunately my co-caster had his mic was not playing through the audio that we need to hear to serenade us, but we have a fun one as we do have 100 Thieves Net's top squad here returning from being triumphant in the first qualifier. See if they can take down, have Maryville take them down a notch.
Yeah, it's, I know, having talked about the preparation for what happened today, we had some words from Jensen Go discussing things that had happened in previous series against 100 Thieves, and I'm guessing that they're not going to get caught off guard for another series altogether. They played twice in the open qualifiers, and I would have to say, over the open qualifiers, except against Golden Guardians, 100 Thieves' best competition was against Maryville in all of those games combined. So that's where I'm standing at the moment, where, during the course of this draft, I'm looking at attention in a couple of different places. Top lane, I know, is where our eyes are going to be going immediately. The Jace is not going to either side, which is unfortunate because of how powerful the champion can be in the hands of Niles or Sniper. Instead, it's just a Hecarim for Fnatic, a great champion for letting him kind of run rampant about them.
Bro, we got a lot of picks already flying through. Get that Hecarim off the table. Now it's up to Maryville. They've got a lot of power that they can sled for themselves. Still got like Niles game plank and all this other craziness that is up on the board.
Yeah, nothing too crazy. Well, we're waiting to see, I think, what Odd Orange's response is going to be to this Hecarim pick. Lee Sin was taken off the board. I remember them talking about that during their qualification for the Open. But it's the Nico that is the priority to kick things off here. APA has been playing the champion a handful of times through a lot of the qualifier tournaments here for Proving Grounds, and it's been amazing for him. He's had some very standout performances against a number of the kind of mid lane picks that would come about. The biggest one is he picks it in response to Rise. Here, picking it preemptively, assuming that Insanity might actually go for that type of champion. You also know that it's got some range to it to be able to counter the Vigar, which is another one of the big champions that Insanity has really been known for throughout the beginning of the tournament. You throw that together with the Xin Zhao, it's not going to be anything else that fits together. It's instead the Xin Zhao from Odd Orange that's going to come out and try to contest some of the early play coming out from Fnatic's.
Check this out, 100 Thieves, they automatically lock in their bot lane. They take Ezreal to take armor. They want that poke to come their way. So Maryville, now you got options to kind of pick a lot of different things for yourself. You see your bot lane matchup already.
You do. You've got a lot of safety when it comes to the bottom side matchup, and I know you and I were talking about this before this setup, everything for the beginning of the series, which is that Array and Azog actually have two of the bottom 3 kill participations for ADCs in the tournament. We don't expect a lot of bottom side play. I know our desk had things set up prior. I know talking to them, they were really high on what Sword can do around the map. And my expectation actually for Maryville is that if they find success against 100 Thieves, a lot of it comes through Shady's ability to impact the map, especially in the mid lane. And so seeing safe ADCs being taken here, at least on the side of 100 Thieves, it's not completely out of the ordinary. The Kai'Sa, I think, is something also that, it fits alongside Ezreal. The wave clear isn't great until you get that first Q power spike, and then all of a sudden the Kai'Sa begins to have the ability to dive with the rest of your team. It also has much better wave clear to control things as the mid game kind of rolls around.
I'm actually very curious too, as we're going through our ban phase 2 here. You talked about Shady. I want to see what kind of champions he brings into this. We have a Kai'Sa that is getting paired to, and we haven't seen a lot of great success from Kai'Sa here inside the amateur scene. We've seen a lot of like Rakans and stuff like that get paired together, but Shady's champ pool is something different.
it's got some spice to it when the time comes, right? My expectation is the Rakan actually pops out here because it's something that can kind of respond to the Karma. It's got shielding for the beginning of the laning phase. It's ranged as well. The Karma helps the Ezreal quite a bit through the laning phase as well, but I don't anticipate a lot of attacking moves to come about. And Kai'Sa is pretty self-sufficient so long as she doesn't get in range of some of the Qs to slow her down to set up tethers and such. And so I think just finding something out that Shady's going to be able to play for himself that's going to have a bunch of impact across the remainder of the map could be a very big way to set themselves off on a solid foot for, again, making impact across that mid lane. Soraka would be a great way to do so, but again, the Rakan is actually what they end up with. He was great on this in the last couple of games that we saw, and so I'm not surprised at all after the performances that Shady had. The impact that he had inside of teamfights was really influential as well.
Dude, Shady roams on Rakan is something to keep our eyes on as this game comes now. 100 Thieves, they have to respond. They do have a couple picks that they're going to have to pick up blind, and it's going to be those solo lanes, Rebel.
And I'm excited to see what the response to the Nico is. Insanity has been somebody that has taken a bunch of the onus for this team to be capable of doing things. Here, actually potentially grabbing up the Ivern mid lane as the response to the Nico, which would be huge, because this is setup that we really haven't seen all too much from 100 Thieves in capability. They have a lot of trustworthy members that can do a bunch of carrying. You throw not only Fnatic in the mix, but Array is amazing. You know, Sniper is an absolute prodigy in the top lane up against Niles. They're willing to put faith into those two sides because that is going to be the Ivern getting thrown into the mid lane for Insanity. That is the response to the Nico. They're not going to play into it with a mage. Instead, they're just going to say, we're going to support the rest of our map.
I walked into today with a lot of picks in my head that we were going to see. Ivern mid was not on that list, so this game just all of a sudden blew just up inside of my head. And on the other side, the safe counter pick, Irelia going into the pocket of Niles.
They held it for what was potentially going to be the top lane matchup, but we expect to be incredibly volatile in game number 1 now between the Aurelia and the Aatrox as two carries to do a lot of the heavy lifting. And especially in a game like this for 100 Thieves, for again, it's not the high damage mid laner, it's not the Victor, it's not the Vigard that Insanity's been really amazing on the majority of the split. It is an Ivern that we haven't seen much of, for the most part here inside of Amateur. So it's an exciting time period where the response to what is APA's incredible comfort is just to play a different style of game for 100 Thieves. And I think it's incredible. Insanity's been a great facilitator for this team. When they put resources into him, they've gotten a lot out. And now it's the chance to show that Insanity can put resources into his side lanes and they can win off of those battles.
I think it's crazy that this team, 100 Thieves Nets, have turned around and won 19 games in a row. Haven't dropped a game in 19 games. And then they turn around and they say, all right, we're going to just switch up our plan. A completely different look from this team. And I mean, there's so much spice in game number 1 here. So many things I was not ready for here, Rebel.
Yeah, it's so much that actually has had quite a bit from 100 Thieves side that looks good. Again, minus this mid lane pick, which is a little bit different. This is actually a really solid combination of champions across the board. Fnatic gets something to attack with early. Aatrox is something Sniper's played a number of times through the tournament. Array and Sword on the bottom side have like their perfect combination. The Karma can help the lane, can go roaming instead, and Array's on something that scales. It's kind of the perfect combination of champions. It's just Insanity that gets a little bit crazy. So you talk about what that pick does to the comp. Actually doesn't do all that much except for changing what Insanity's role is inside of team fights, which I don't think is something that impacts 100 Thieves with all the practice that they've been able to show us so far. To me, it's Maryville trying to figure out a way to actually attack this team, because they have got a very solid team fight and they've got some champions that will spike very heavily into the game. I'm curious where it is that Odd Orange now actually is going to be able to find strikes across the map. The Ivern mid, do you throw resources into it in an attempt to put it behind? Do you attack for these side lanes, which are going to carry a lot more of the damage in this game?
I mean, you say Odd Orange, I say Odd Orange plus Shady. He brings a +1 with him wherever he goes. I mean, we've seen Shady on the Rakan moving around the map so often. We already talked about it. Both these bot sides tend to be the weak side. They don't tend to put a lot of resources into this bot side. Instead, both of these supports tend to roam around. I look at Rakan, man, and I look at Shady, and I look at the track record that he's had on this champion, and it becomes a very scary thing whenever this Rakan goes missing. So I think whoever has the target on their back needs to watch out, because they'll quickly find a spirit.
it is a situation that I think strikes for Maryville, which is they have the ability to go out and strike very quickly in a game like this to a very high avail. If you shut Aatrox out of this laning phase, if you can clamp off and start the Aurelia onto a good foot, you basically have to wait for Ezreal scaling to really put yourselves in a good position in a game like this. If you shut Ezreal out from gold, there's no late game scaling. There's so many ways to play out a game like this for Maryville. They have options. 100 Thieves, they've got multiple carries, and they have to get somebody to a point where, like, you've got this super combination of the Ivern and Karma being able to empower you. They've got an amazing Hecarim for some frontline ability and for some engage. So, like, they've got some carry potential. They just need damage somewhere. So does Maryville find ways to actually cut off that damage supply? Do they have ways of getting their side lanes ahead of what 100 Thieves side lanes have been able to accomplish? They've been some of the best side lanes in the entire game. We talked about how Insanity pulls a bunch of resources, has done a lot for the team, has been probably inarguably the best player in Amateur for the majority of the splits. So to have his side lanes really be the focus for this one, is it something that Maryville was prepared to attack?
Yeah, it's a complete screwball thrown into the mids here, and I actually look at Fnatic too. He's on this Hecarim pick, and we've seen what happens when a Hecarim gets going, has the support. Ivern pairs together with a Hecarim very, very well. So, you know, keeping my eyes on Fnatic as well. We talked about Shady Odd Orange. That could be another pairing here. Insanity Fnatic could be breaking out a whole new style where they just move around the map and take complete control.
They might be doing so. There's a lot of ways I think that this game can play out. They didn't give us much in terms of the drafting phase. Both teams, they have the ability to shift around quite a few places in order to make our map impactful. So things are going to get a lot more interesting as soon as the game really does begin to heat up. It's the first 5-10 minutes of the game where those first jungle paths are going to go. They're going to make such a significant difference as to what it is that both these teams are going to be looking at. We're going to get a much better read on how these two teams intend to play out the game. What I do know, however, is that we have expectations for what this series is going to bring us. Both ADCs playing late game carries. I think that's an expectation, so we're excited for later game team fights. Both top laners playing damage carries. How lucky are we to be able to see two of the best top laners, especially Sniper, who has all these ambitions. Talked about, I know you said a number of times how he wants to go into LCS against Niles, who's had his chance in the LCS, had his chance at Academy, was able to make some noise in the right places at the right time. So it's an interesting combination that we had here in our first game to be able to watch.
Yeah, it's so crazy to be like, oh yes, Proving Grounds, and it's just like, oh, there's this young talent who's like, yo, I'm ready for LCS, bring it on, and then he gets put up against an LCS top, former LCS top laner in Niles. I'm very excited to look at that matchup. It's a very good reason why we were looking at this matchup, because we've had moments where both these teams have been on opposite streams. I know, at least for me, and I flip between the streams as I'm just trying to keep up with the games and action, and I'm just like, oh, Sniper's popping off, oh, Niles is popping off, and they're both playing champions that they're be able to take control of the game. If they are given an inch, they take a mile.
This game has... We're encroaching upon the very late stages of what is the first Proving Grounds here in spring, and we have ramifications for every game, won and loss, always, no matter what the situation. But now we're getting into this quarterfinals has the final real impact on the standings to be able to qualify for Proving Grounds if you're out of Amateur. You don't want to end up in a position, first off, where you're out of the top 10, because then you have no chance of getting in. But also being outside of top 6 does make your life a little bit harder, because you're playing against some of the bottom tier Academy teams, teams that have very solid rosters and have been playing against very high level competition for the entirety of the split. And so, games like this for Maryville, it doesn't feel winnable, but we know walking into this one, Maryville, they aren't pulling punches. They aren't trying to, improve. They didn't give me any spiel about exactly what it was that they were trying to accomplish. Coach Jensen was very direct, and he said, we're winning this game. That's what they want to accomplish. It puts them into a better position. It secures probably what is top 10 outside of some really miraculous shenanigans that can happen with the rest of the bracket. And beyond that, obviously, trying to contest for that 6th spot, the only way you can do so is by winning out a game right here and right now. So it's a Herculean task that is necessary for Maryville.
But what a statement it would be.
Oh,
I
yes.
mean, like, you take and you make sure that this team goes 19-1, right? You take that 19 win streak that they have and you just go ahead and put a blemish in it and make them look to start it all over. All right, possibly even knock them out right here. Maryville looking to make their statement and make their moment. As we're on the rift, we see the squads moving against one another here. As you can see, a little bit of trading. Niles just wanting a little bit of farm.
The last time, actually, they're right onto a scrap immediately. Niles has to flash.
Yeah, Niles got very hungry for that farm. That was not good for him.
Yeah, he walked directly into the Ignite Aatrox to begin things. I'm not sure whether he just wasn't anticipating that kind of an immediate play coming out from Sniper, but it bought him, at least the Summoner spells out of Niles now, so the flash advantage is going to be punishable by Fnatic, who came up here. I was watching to see whether Fnatic was going to go back to a pathing that he'd done, which is to kind of protect top side while simultaneously being able to reverse the bottom side if he needs to by going Gromp into blue instead of going to Wolves, but instead it looks like it's more so just the full top side clear, with the potential of being able to punish the Aurelia or go for a full reset if the time comes. We'll see what the horse decides to do, whether he wants to try to punish it, because he's got a very significant timer now where he can look to punish the flash of Niles. There is nothing there, so that means that he and the Aatrox can link up for some aggression. I'm anticipating they try to punish that sometime soon.
Maryville did have vision, though, so they do have an idea of where this Heck Room is. See how Maryville responds. As going back to this mid lane, wow, a Nico versus Ivern was not, yet again, just reiterating a point from earlier, not exactly what I was expecting. APA's Nico, though, has been putting in absolute work.
Ooh.
So keeping our eyes peeled on that as Fnatic. I'm going to go ahead and just settle for some Scuttle Crab action.
Yeah, nothing too crazy. We've actually seen 100 Thieves win out in exactly this contention on top side a couple of different games. Here, the Heck Room has actually cleared so much. Fnatic has done an amazing job just gapping through Odd Orange, who's only on 3 full camps right now, so has to go back to full clearing. And now this is the opening they're looking for up against Niles. He's in a position where he's taking some damage from Sniper. Here comes the gank.
Yep, here comes the gank indeed. Niles trying to get away, using the minions to his advantage, trying to see if he can stack a little bit more damage for himself, trying to find a way out, but it's not enough time. But first blood for Sniper.
The attempt is there, but again, there's no jungle support. Odd Orange was on 3 full camps, and that meant that he is out to full clearing. If he leaves, then the punishment can actually come out from Fnatic, that if he's got push in the mid lane from the Ivern, and everything goes to absolute shreds for him in terms of his pathing to begin with. And Sniper baited this really well, because he was kind of losing, but not losing hard enough to where Niles would be able to turn this fully, and that meant on his dance on the way out of the minions, it was easy enough to be able to take. And again, that flash at level 1 coming into very high ramifications right there, as Sniper still had his to be able to find the follow-up kill. And now we talked about how the early matchup in the top lane could be set very easily by one of the junglers, and how influential that could be for either of these teams. And it's 100 Thieves that get one of their 2 major damage carries potentially into a great position to start the game.
I just love the pathing from Fnatic. Every time I see a Fnatic game too, like just seeing how they move at the slightest bit of information, it's always gorgeous. And Fnatic really doing the turnabout there. Odd Orange finally getting over there to that bottom scuttle, but check this out, completely in vision. The Odd Orange is not going to be able to find any early game action on this Jin Zhao.
No, it's a little bit difficult. We often kind of criticize. I know you specifically are somebody that likes to criticize Zinzaos that don't get very active in the earlier stage of the game. You get a little, complacent Zinzaos and never a good Zinzao. Niles, once again, he's contesting for a couple of minions just to make sure that comes through. The W was used. Ignite was burnt by Sniper as well. Already back in the top lane. Is able to dance his way out, thankfully.
Aurelia's a beautiful champion when you have that level of mastery. APA is in the top lane as well. No flash for Sniper. Ward is there. They know exactly where he is. They're going to be able to connect with the stun. They're getting the root. They're going to lay out some good damage, but is it going to be a trade? No. Niles barely staying alive, but the minions hitting away. They finish him off.
No way! Tragic ending to the topside gank. It's APA who's gone back to some of the roots from before, where like he plays Nico and he plays all of these kind of map influential champions in the mid lane, things like the Aurelion Soul. Gets a push against this supportive mid laner and makes an impact. It's one of the things that you can do very heavily as the Nico here to try to get away from the mid jungle duo, is just to go roaming on your own. Finds a timer to top lane, and they can't make it work without the trade kill going through. Sniper thanking his minions for their service right there, because Niles, had he not gone down, they would have been tiding kills, would have been a CS lead, the Vamp Scepter would have been done already, would have been great for the Aurelia to try to get back into a game like this.
The tether. Just pulled him back in, yanking him into the minions. That is terrifying to see. Niles has lane swapped over here into the mid lane for the current moment in time, just grabbing a bit of farm. Getting Daisy called out for a little bit of supportive play from Insanity in the mid lane, but we'll see the lanes go back to their standard self. I do want to bring up too, Ezreal Karma, man, they've been putting in some work down here in the bot side. This lane has been permanently shoved.
Yeah, just making sure that's going to come through. That's kind of the ramification of taking the Rakan into the Karma matchup, because you don't have anywhere near as much ability to help impact the wave control against this combination. That means that, Shady really wants to go out and about, get active on the map. This is the first opportunity because the back timer was just held. But like you said, this has meant that the push on bottom side has consistently gone to Array and to Sword. Now we get to see what kind of impact they are going to be able to have on the map, because you can see it's actually Sword heading up the top side as well.
Yeah, but check this out. A good call out. They do not get the Pop Blossom on the Fnatic, but they get the root. They got the knock-up. Odd Orange jumping onto him as well. That is a kill for Maryville.
Nicely played right there. It was the at the cost of the wave getting shoved on bottom side. It meant that Shady got to leave earlier.
no.
Niles actually against Sniper again in the top side. Sniper's got a huge advantage. What happened here?
Yeah, well, the World Ender is looking to end Niles, but Niles gets out. Odd Orange in the right place at the right time, and Maryville, they're almost all up here in the top lane.
Feeling the impact of some of the early ganks, and Niles now basically twice in a row having his flash burnt on cooldown. Sniper's got ridiculous control of this wave as well. Ooh,
Oh
Niles.
no, this is
Oh,
not what
no.
you wanted. He just gets himself struck. And that will be the kill going over to Sniper. Another solo.
Really quick movement from Sniper right there, but it didn't look like Maryville was fully committed to trying to help break the freeze that could have come about from Sniper's Aatrox, because you didn't have APA fully move up into the lane. I think that's something they could have done. Onwards was in position to set up a dive, and they only had to kill the 2 minions. But when Niles goes alone with no health, it's really tough to force that into the Aatrox when he still has the cooldowns. He even had the Ignite, I think, at the time, and that would have been more than enough, I think, to push Niles completely off the wave and the dive to be thwarted. But the solo kill is able to come through, and that's more than enough. And now, ramifications further. Azog takes a bunch of trade damage against Sword and Sword and Array.
That just hurt to watch, man. He's like, immediately, he's like supposed to be safe underneath his tower. No, you're not, as this bot lane will completely devastate you on one misstep. And it is Herald being started up on the top side. It looks like a little bit of a second call coming out from Fnatic. He is going to back off. The too many pieces are missing from the Fog of War. As we do also have Dragon up. Dragon has not been taken yet.
No, it is not. The ramifications, I think, to Maryville's topside defense has been the bottom side CS, but again, Ezreal still takes a fair amount of time to get into a game like this. Array is getting super powered, though, because even if they lose the Rift Herald, they've got 3 plates on the bottom side. They haven't moved anybody, so it's almost certainly Rift Herald in the pockets of Maryville, but 100 of these next are completely fine with it, right? Like, you set your Ezreal up for such success, you get first item, you're going to have, like, Essence Reaver and Manamune very quickly on this Ezreal to be able to take over a game. And it's Maryville, again, I wanted to see them clamp off some of the damage, but they did nothing. Sniper's still up 3 kills, and the Ezreal being up to 94 CS, nearly 10 CS a minute at only 10 minutes into the game is not a position they really need to be in that right now.
Not at all. And here we go. Quickly coming in. Shady looking for it. They used the killer instinct. They pulled the trigger, but Fnatic is here to play some defense. And now it's Shady and Azog trying to retreat, and they're going to find themselves in dismay as it is Array finding the kill onto Azog. The Comet almost finishing off Shady, while over in the top lane, a just straight up solo kill coming out from Sniper in the top side.
And they knew where Fnatic had been a bit ago when they had saw him at the Rift Herald kind of poking around, but they didn't really, I don't think they had a great ability to track him through anything else. Mid lane, there's a little more action, but I don't think Iverson are really real threat. And then the Fnatic got to go to bottom side and cover for this aggressive play between Azog and Shady really easily to be able to find themselves a double kill, which just furthers this Ezreal's advantage in a game like this. Not to mention, the top side play that has come about to try to defend the Aurelia pick still has yet to work. In fact, Sniper now has, I think, 3 solo kills in this game alone against the Niles. The counter pick and topside is not working. The mid lane, it's not going super well for Insanity, but again, he's an Ivern. He doesn't care because the 2 people that will be doing damage on his team are doing absolutely swimmingly in a game like this.
This is what they wanted when they draft this kind of a pick, right? And Sandy's like, yo, I can chill with this. This is great. And Sniper, like you said, 3 solo kills so far in this game. Ezreal has found a kill and has found, 3 plates in the bot lane right now? This is insanity, and it's so good for 100 Thieves Nets.
And the gold disparity, it shows pretty much everything as it comes to a team like this, right? The fully completed Essence Reaver, the Ezreal being incredibly powerful. Now's going in. He's 2 levels down right now. He's got the support of Odd Orange, but the 2 of them might actually have a bit of struggle taking down Sniper right now on their own. They got APA in the wings to try to make a defense, but Fnatic is here as well, and you really, really do not want to be diving an Aatrox and a Hecarim underneath of a tower. Shady was around as well, kind of poking their nose up, and again, Sword wasn't actually seen either, so they would have probably knew that Sword was capable of hovering on top side. But again, this is defensive top lane, which hasn't really worked. Ooh, actually playing the mid lane now.
Pop Blossom coming in is going to do a good amount of damage onto this Ivern, but Hecarim immediately answers back and retaliates. True Shot Barrage goes in, doesn't hit onto APA, but they will find an onslaught of shadows. Insanity finds the kill.
Correct call on the clone. It was actually a good call from 100 Thieves. I was a little worried that they were going directly into the Nico when she has the Pop Blossom available to be able to use as like a very defensive and offensive tool simultaneously. But they don't have the damage. Ivern's got enough shielding, Sword's got enough shielding. They have more than enough to be able to take that. And that means that now, with an Ezreal on the bottom side, who's been farming away freely, with an Ivern in the mid lane, 100 Thieves are just able to fight their way to a dragon, and the trade-off was the Rift Herald, which hasn't been able to find a good place for Odd Orange quite yet, but they need to do it in the next minute, because otherwise you're not getting plates for it, and all of a sudden that Rift Herald just does not feel impactful in the slightest, compared to what everything that has been traded in the meantime has been.
Yeah, Odd Orange is just trying to resuscitate Niles right now. He's got the defibrillator ready, and he's trying to see if he'll be able to find the angle, but Sniper has the World Ender, has Ignite. This could be very dangerous. Smite comes through, looking for the stun. We'll be able to find it onto Sniper. APA is here as well. The Vanguard's Edge is not going to be enough, though. Sniper finds one kill. He's looking for another one, and he is hungry for the roots, and everything cannot stop him. Odd Orange find himself getting dropped, and now it is General Sniper looking to pop off inside this game. He's looking to make it 3. The APA will be able to tell the tale of what happened in top lane.
Man, Sniper's not playing around today. He bent and did not break in the slightest to the initial pressure, and now they're putting literally 3 members into the top lane. He's gonna pull a triple kill!
APA!
Okay, this was originally a defense against the topside pressure that had been exerted from Sniper from level 1. This is literally a triple kill going over. Sniper is 1v3ing legitimately at this point in the game. I know you don't have much gold. I know you got to try to prize something out, but this has not been working. This is the definition of insanity, and not the good kind in the mid lane, the bad kind that Maryville is falling victim to right now.
I mean, you just look at this. It's so good. He has the great target selection. He knows exactly who he needs to hit and when he gets. Odd Orange has nowhere to go, no roots. The desperation Pop Blossom here to just try and stop Sniper, but even then, that's not enough.
Yeah, I guess APA pokes around because, again, he's ranged. He's trying to express some of that onto Sniper a little bit. He's just poking away at him with auto attacks, but he gets just way too close in range. The Q reset comes through, and it's able to, that knockup right there was what really does it. But again, Sniper is just so ridiculously strong now. You've given so much over. Even if this weren't the case, right? Even if this were Sniper has, 3 kills, 3 deaths, topside is kind of back and forth, and there's a couple of plates for the Aurelia, your Ezreal is still doing great. It just so happens that Sniper is obliterating the other side of the map. And this is what we talk about with 100 Thieves next, right? They don't really have a weak point of the map. Their bottom lane is dynamite. Their top laner is incredible. You can see that full on display today. And this is with Insanity playing on a supportive champion, and he usually is the one that's pulling a bunch of resources and doing a bunch of damage, but he doesn't need to. But even when he's on the Ivern, his side lanes have got him. They are incredible across the board.
I just love the fact that we were talking about at the very beginning, but hold on, we're going to have to hold that. Insanity getting jumped onto 4 members, but he's got somebody to even odds. Daisy's there to buy some space for this team. The Killer Instinct coming out. Azod trying to get another kill, but the shielding is just so good. And look at what's happening across the map. It is 100 Thieves Nets picking up tower after tower. True Shot Barrage is coming in, lays in the damage on the Odd Orange. Insanity finds a solo kill onto Azog, and Insanity's moving up to try and hold this tower. He's trying to lay a little bit more work, but will find that greed equals speed. Buys a little bit of time for his team, but that's 2 towers dropped while this all happening. Fnatic is running wild over here, looking to see if he'll be able to find a catch on the Odd Orange. Odd Orange is just trying to delay the inevitable, but the inevitable always catch up, and Fnatic finds the kill on the Odd Orange.
Forget the even bottom side play. This is what was happening on top side. You've got Array underneath the mid tower. Actually, Fnatic was able to find a dive on a Niles, which is kind of astonishing that they were able to get that. But they just push mid tower, which they would have got whether Niles was there or not. And Sniper got top inner tower, which is a bunch of gold into the pockets of an already fed Aatrox, to the point where he is at 2.5 items. Not completely good. 2.5 items, though, on this Aatrox this is gaming. right? This isn't just this is world ending, legitimately with the champion that he's got in his back pocket, and they are struggling to kill an Ivern right now. Like they're diving underneath the bottom tower. They do get the tower fully, but it doesn't matter. Like the influence of being able to kick the Ivern out for so much traded, Maryville just has not been able to find their footing at all in a game like this.
Oh. They're looking to catch Sniper out. They have vision of him. Fnatic's here as well, though. And here's the rest of the team. A nice charm to start things off. That's a huge shutdown going away. Aatrox has been taken off the field, and now it's going to be the rest. The Onslaught of Shadows onto APA. The Pop Blossom coming in, gets the shielding in the vital moment, but Array still picks apart the pieces. Shady trying to buy his team some space. Niles going in deep, but he's going to find himself dropped by Array. Otto and Jeanette's contender, but will just be a triple kill to Array.
Take a wild guess what champion it is. Now, once the Aatrox is down, they can rely on for damage. They get a massive front-to-back team fight. They get 2 shielding supports in front of him. And Array, who's been free-firing this whole game, gets a line of champions to shoot at like fish in a barrel. Incredible stuff from 100 Thieves next. The composition being played to absolute aplomb. But they don't even need their 7-kill Aatrox to win out a fight. And Fnatic's going really deep. They might actually get out of it. He's probably gonna. Oh, the shielding is absurd!
Dude, it's a Moonstone Ivern! Yeah, just put the shield on him. It's fine. It's fine. It's like he uses Killer Instinct just to live in that instant, too. Like, there's just so many things that are just disasterific. The True Shot Barrage not going to find its mark, but Maryville is in a state of desperation right now. We're not even 20 minutes in, and the gold lead right now is massive in the favor of 100 Thieves Nets.
I don't know that there's actually a way to get back into a game like this. It's so hard to tear through the double shielding combination from 100 Thieves alone, but a 5-kill Ezreal, a 7-kill Aatrox for the healing they've got, they don't even just need shield penetration, they also need healing reduction for this team, because of just how much they're able to do. You think about Aatrox and Hecarim just ambiently, not let alone like the Moonstones that are rocking right now. It's so hard to play out this game if you're Maryville, especially with how far down your carries are. You could see Niles didn't get much in the beginning of the game. Neither did Kai'Sa. They're testing the waters with some of their CC, but they don't have that much to work with when it comes to team fighting.
Oh, they're catching out Sword here, but look at the shields! They're so massive here! Array just pushes away the rest of the team. Fnatic gets the kill on the Orange. They can't even find a pick with all of these shields. They get a tower. It's a nice objective bounty, but the Onslaught of Shadows into the backside. It is Array getting jumped onto by Niles. Does get the stun as well. That's Array dropped off. They are going to be able to find a little bit more for themselves here. The Vanguard's Edge comes in, lands onto 2 members, but Niles is taking so much damage. There's a Triforce Hecarim running a stampede, and that's a double kill for Fnatic.
The trade-off, of course, again, it is Maryville that's able to secure top tower, get a couple of kills, but that's the best that they can look. Yes, they put everything into making sure that Array is going to go down in that fight. They still have the Hecarim, who's powerful enough with double Enchanter, especially with Triforce, to carry a fight on their own. Didn't even need Sniper there. They've got effectively 3 carries that can full carry a fight, and you have to get through all 3 of them before the Enchanters really can't do anything inside of the bounds of this game. And the gold is where it needs to be in all cases. Azog is just getting run down. He's just that. There's nothing you can do about that when Sniper hits him with one ability and he's slowed. Like, what are you supposed to do? And now you can't side lane against this. Like, how are you supposed to side lane against this team to any extent? The only person who might survive is APA, right? You got nothing to stand on. They can play 1-3-1. They can play any team fight you want. Most skirmishes they're going to be taking a win in, and it requires so much effort just to bring down 1 carry on the side of Maryville. It's really tough to imagine how they're ever going to be able to do it with all 3 of them, especially when the Enchanters are nearby. I feel like 100 Thieves Nets is just waiting for like the right Baron timer. They're waiting for the maybe the soul point. That feels like it's even too far into the game. Yeah. Right now they just run everything, and there's almost no way that Maryville's able to come back in a game like this.
Yeah, they didn't get first dragon until like, what, 11, 12 minutes into the game. So yeah, I think they're looking at Dragon Soul like that might be a little bit too long, but they are doing the dance around the big purple worm over here in the top side of the map, looking at Baron. And they've got all the vision. Look at how they've secured everything on here. And Sniper is down here in the bot side. Sniper does not have teleport. So if a fight does happen, it could be a possible 5v4 scenario.
It might. You have the Niles back coming in. The TP is available for the Aurelia when the time comes.
Niles TP.
Oh, actually,
Niles
wait!
TP'd. They're looking for the fight. They get out of Sanity. That is one of the shields and peels coming off the way. There is Aurelia looking for the lone flame, but look, Niles
They don't
is
care.
spending so much time inside the jungle. He's going for a tour or something. The rest of Maryville just have to disengage. Look at all the poke they ended up having to take. They lined up nice and pretty for a true shot barrage. Fnatic does not find Niles over in the back inside the jungle, but they do get a play there. They do get the one pick.
They get a pick onto Insanity, which is actually huge, right? Like, if you take the Enchanters out, maybe you have a chance at bringing down members on the front side. You don't have this, like, 1,000 shield that's going to get dropped out of nowhere onto whoever it is that you're hitting. But all it took was one ultimate from Array to work through half the health bars of everybody but Niles. After they got hit, you could see the moment where they're defeated. They're like, we can't fight this. Like, we can't do it. I know you were talking about how, like, there was some, like, pad footing around at the backside of the jungle for Niles. The call almost certainly was like, let's go for a fight, let's go for a fight. And as soon as they took half their health bars, they were like, we can't, sorry, it can't happen. We got nowhere to be. And Niles just has to back off that.
Now it's the Baron call, though. Everybody's bats, everybody's reset. Nico is showing over here in the bot side, is doing a TP in behind the Baron pit, so is going to be looking for a possible angle here. This is Maryville looking for a team fight for themselves, but this line of bushes make it so hard. They can't see the targets they need. APA going for the pop blossom, trying to land a good amount of damage, but he's going to find himself slain. It is Ivern drop, though, but Vanguard's edge into the back line. They just can't put out enough damage. Maryville is falling one by one here in succession. Array hiding out the Jin Zhao, and there's only Shady left alive for the squad of Maryville.
And it's great defense, actually. They don't full commit to the Baron because they don't want to take a chance at potentially flipping it. Shady's going to have to pull an absolute 1 in a million miracle if he wants to try to steal this Baron buff away, but it's almost certainly not even enough to take the game back into their own hands. He's going to try for it. I can give him respect for at least attempting to throw at least a little bit of a cog into what the system has brought from the side of 100 Thieves next, but that blue ward is actually going to shove him completely out. He's not even going to take a chance because he's the only one up right now. He has a chance of catching a wave, something like that, but it is just a conclusion that's never actually going to come about. How much can you talk about how much 100 Thieves has been able to accomplish in a game like this? They have controlled everything from minute one, and it's been miraculous to see how not only the individual performances, but when they're clustering up together, they understand completely how these team fights need to operate as well.
I love the fact that you bring up individual performances too, because I feel like that's a big story in this game because the individuals are popping off inside.
Oh yeah, they're going crazy.
These individual performances are nuts, and it's the team fighting that comes out, right? But it's the individuals that have gotten themselves to this point. We actually see a Prowlers on the Ezreal here.
That's the right build.
He's going for it. He's going for those deeps.
Yeah, I mean, that damage is just about as high as it gets. Ezreal is completely online. Aatrox is completely online. You've got everyone where they need to be. Yes, Insanity is down, like, almost 100 CS, but again, he's an Ivern. This didn't matter at all. Like, he's on 2 items, he's an Enchanter, he's complete build at this point. And they're just going to walk things in, right? They have basically 2 waves now stacked on the bottom side. They've got, Daisy as well to be able to walk into the base. It's going to be easy enough for them to take down the 2 inhibitors. If Maryville wants to try to fight, they can, and maybe at best they miracle and they get enough people to push them off of this push. But ultimately, I think the game is just going to be over. Shady's on Vision, but he is way behind them.
He's going for it, but he immediately gets pushed back by the Hecarim. They're just trying to end Sniper, but he lives through all of it. He didn't take any damage here. The shields are so immense, and Sniper marches forward. The rest of the team will follow. An onslaught of shadows. They find Shady. The Pop Blossom is massive into the back line, but it's a little bit too late for the play as 100 Thieves nets are just so far ahead. Maryville find themselves dropping in front of their nets, and the 19-game win streak will turn into 20 as 100 Thieves nets will pick up this game 1 dub.
It's just a masterclass performance from 100 Thieves. We see them do this game in and game out. When they're able to do it against a team like Maryville and show that much ability, not only as a team, but also as individuals, to flex like that in every single lane. They didn't need to do that much to win a game like this. They were incredible, and they were on the way to winning one way or another. But to have that kind of individual pop-off performance, especially from Sniper, it feels really heavily like they're making a statement. And what a statement to be made from 100 Thieves is, like you said, 20 straight wins. They are indomitable right now inside of anything amateur. Even Academy has to be trembling at what this team absolutely just ripped apart when it came to Merit.
I think everybody's scared of Sniper right now. I'm just gonna be real. After seeing 3 solo kills, Rebel, 3 solo kills inside of the laning phase against a former LCS player. I mean, like we said, this is a player who's looking to pop off inside of this, and I'm very curious going into game number 2 here, especially because, I mean, 100 Thieves, like you said, they flexed inside of that game.
They did. It's really great to see 100 Thieves being able to put out a performance like this against, again, I think they were 4 or 5 seed walking into a tournament like this. Maryville's got to find a game plan that works for them, because that game right there, not only did it feel like they were grasping at straws with the defensive top lane, but again, noticing that they needed to clamp off damage, but not doing anything to Array on the bottom side felt almost as bad as what happened the remainder of the game. They really, really have to understand like what is going to happen, because the draft was amazing from 100 Thieves. Coming out against an Ivern mid, I know it's unexpected, and perhaps it threw them for a little bit of a loop. Again, they were hoping not to get caught with a sucker punch, but here we are. Ivern mid as a sucker punch is a pretty rough one to throw if you're 100 Thieves, and it throws a lot into the draft that has to be considered. So game prep for game number 2, I really am hoping that they're able to throw even more into the mix.
Well, I'm excited to hear what our desk has in store for us, as they got to see everything. Curious to pick their brain. So, gents and ladies, take it on away.